Picture this. It's 1979. The most mystical woman in rock and roll is standing in a doctor's office, facing a choice that would either save or destroy Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks had everything: fame, fortune, a voice that could heal broken hearts. But she was about to make a decision that would haunt her for decades. This is the story of how America's bohemian sorceress became the only woman twice inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the devastating personal sacrifices that made it possible.
How come this has happened? It would have destroyed Fleetwood Mac.
Stephanie Lynn Nicks was born in Phoenix in 1948. Her grandfather, Aaron Nicks, was a would-be country star who handcrafted her a guitar and taught her country songs when she was just 5 years old. By 16, she was writing her own heartbreak ballads after teenage breakups, including her first song, I've Loved and I've Lost. But what shaped her wasn't just musical talent, but constant upheaval. Her father's corporate career meant the family moved frequently across Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Utah, and California. This rootlessness shaped her restless, bohemian spirit. But before the mystical persona, before the cocaine habit, before the fame, Stevie was just a struggling musician in a psychedelic band called Fritz.
We were poor, we were struggling, we were starving. You know, we had jobs, I was a waitress. It was like we had a real life.
That all changed in 1975 when she and boyfriend Lindsey Buckingham joined Fleetwood Mac. Their first album moved 4.5 million copies. Songs like Rhiannon made her famous overnight. But 1977's Rumors transformed her into mythology. 40 million copies sold, one of the best-selling albums ever. Picture the scene. 5 people, trapped in recording studios for months, dissecting their failed relationships through song. Nicks and Buckingham had just broken up in 1976, ending a romantic partnership that had lasted since high school. The split was devastating. They'd been together for nearly a decade. But the pressures of fame and Nicks's desire for independence had driven them apart. Almost immediately, she began an affair with married bandmate Mick Fleetwood, a proper Hollywood affair, he called it, fueled by drugs and alcohol. And yet somehow, this emotional carnage created musical magic. Nicks wrote Dreams entirely herself, Fleetwood Mac's only #1 hit, and the lyrics were deeply personal. Thunder only happens when it's raining, for example, was Stevie reflecting on intense, dramatic moments or conflicts, the thunder, in a relationship that was already experiencing difficulty or hardship, the rain. But here's where the story gets darker. As Stevie's star rose, with her newfound fame also came intense rumors and speculation. The media labeled her a witch. They created an entire mythology around her, speculation that was only heightened by her appearance. Her flowing black clothes, crescent moon necklaces, and twirling shawls. Even Rolling Stone magazine wrote about her having occult powers. The rumors became so persistent that fans would approach her at concerts asking for spells or magical advice. Some believed she could predict the future through her songs. Others claimed she was part of a coven. The mythology grew so elaborate that by the 1980s, she was spending significant time in interviews denying that she was actually a witch, explaining that her artistic image was artistic expression, not supernatural practice.
I have a lot of more important things that I could worry about besides people thinking that I'm a witch. You know, all you have to do is come by my house, drop in, there's no like owls up there, you know, and you know, it's silly.
But the damage was done. By casting her as otherworldly, the industry could diminish her very human achievements. Her songwriting genius, her business acumen, her ability to connect emotionally with millions of fans. If she was a witch, then her success was magic, not skill. The moment that changed everything wasn't a concert or an album release. It was a pregnancy test in 1979. Stevie Nicks discovered she was carrying the Eagles frontman Don Henley's child. Their relationship had fizzled, but now she faced the choice that would define her legacy. Having that baby would have destroyed Fleetwood Mac, she later said.
Fleetwood Mac is 3 years in, and it's big. It was like, oh no, 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 no. It would have destroyed Fleetwood Mac.
She chose the abortion, believing their music would, as she put it, heal so many people's hearts. But this wasn't her only pregnancy. In 1992, she revealed she'd had 4 abortions throughout her career. To give up 4 babies is to give up a lot that would be here now. That really breaks my heart, she said. The pattern was clear. Every time motherhood threatened her musical trajectory, she chose the stage. Meanwhile, her male bandmates, they all had children and careers without anyone questioning their choices. And that's the thing. This isn't just about one woman's personal choices. It's about how the music industry systematically pressured female artists to sacrifice their personal lives for commercial success. Look at her contemporaries. Linda Ronstadt essentially retired at her peak to focus on family. Carney Wilson of Wilson Pilson struggled with the balance between career and children. Joni Mitchell gave up a child for adoption early in her career. The message was clear. Women could have musical immortality or personal fulfillment, but not both. Remember, these were some of the most successful female musicians of their era, but the implication was clear. Either be a mom or be a musician. You can't have both. But the emotional burden of her abortion decision haunted Stevie. Her dependence on drugs grew. Her behavior became impulsive and erratic.
I used to carry a gram of cocaine in my boot at all times. And it was the first thing I thought of when I woke up in the morning, and the last thing I thought of before I went to bed.
In 1983, after her best friend, Robin Snyder, died from leukemia, Stevie married her deceased friend's husband. But the marriage wasn't out of love. It came from a sense of duty and a longing for motherhood. Stevie felt that it was her responsibility to help raise the child Robin had left behind. And predictably, the marriage didn't last. It was over within 3 months. But this desperate attempt to create her own family through tragedy perfectly illustrates the impossible position Nicks found herself in. Having sacrificed traditional motherhood for her career, she was trying to find maternal fulfillment through the wreckage of loss. But worse was to come. In 1985, Stevie quit cocaine after a decade-long addiction.
And I went to a plastic surgeon, and he looked in my nose and said, "You have a really big hole in your nose, and it's very dangerous. Your last hit of coke could be your last hit of anything."
But then her doctor prescribed Klonopin for her nerves, leading to an 8-year addiction to benzodiazepines that she called worse than cocaine.
I went to Betty Ford, I was off the coke, I was fine, and a psychiatrist decided that what I really needed was to be on Klonopin because it would calm me down, it would keep me from going back to coke, and this drug was more deadly than the coke for me.
That ruined my life for 8 years, she later said about the prescription drugs. It was like somebody opened up a door and pushed me into hell. And yet, even after all these sacrifices, sacrificing her health, her mental well-being, motherhood, all for music, the industry punished her. The witch rumors continued. The obsession about her appearance intensified. While male rock stars were allowed to age without comment, women stars weren't afforded the same grace. They faced constant scrutiny. When Klonopin caused weight gain in the mid-90s, the public criticism she faced left her seriously considering quitting music for good.
So I went up to 175 pounds, and I'm only 5'1". I could see the disappointment in people's faces when they'd see me walk in. And I would just go like, "Oh, I'm so sorry I'm not the Stevie that you used to love. You know, I'm so sorry I'm not her anymore."
So what became of the band she saved with her sacrifices? Truth is, Fleetwood Mac has always been a bit of a rolling door since they started back in 1967. The band had a messy history with breakups and reunions, but as far as the classic lineup was concerned, Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks, it all ended in the worst possible way when Lindsey Buckingham was fired in 2018. Buckingham publicly blamed Stevie for what happened, going as far as to claim Stevie issued an ultimatum that either he was kicked out of the band he'd been a part of for decades, or she'd quit.
She gave them an ultimatum, either Lindsey goes or I go.
Yeah.
And it would be like something as absurd as Mick Jagger saying, either Keith goes or I go, you know, well, I guess we need the singer.
But while Nicks denies being solely responsible, the damage was done. Decades of personal sacrifice to keep the band together, and it still fell apart. Today, at 76, Stevie Nicks continues touring as a solo artist, performing both her solo catalog and beloved Fleetwood Mac songs. Her voice remains remarkable, her shawl's still flowing. She's worth over $120 million, particularly after selling 80% of her publishing rights for $100 million in 2020. She's the only woman twice inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But she lives alone, no children, no grandchildren of her own blood. In recent interviews, Stevie Nicks has become more outspoken about the life choices she made. The fight against sexual misconduct and gender inequality requires determination to bring about societal revolution, she said in 2018. Perhaps she was thinking about her own battles, not just against industry sexism, but against a system that forced impossible choices. The truth is, Stevie Nicks did sell her soul, not to the devil, but to an industry that demanded everything from its female stars. She gave up love, motherhood, and years of her life to addiction, all in service of music. The tragedy isn't that Stevie Nicks made these sacrifices. The tragedy is that she felt she had to make them at all. Her story reveals how the music industry treated female ambition as something requiring payment in blood, tears, and unborn children. Stevie Nicks chose musical immortality, but the cost was her own humanity, a price that no art, however beautiful, should ever demand.